Hi again, Soul Fam. How are you doing? Andrew here. Once again out in nature. I wanted to talk today about this upcoming Friday. Do you know what this Friday is? Friday the 13th. Now I know a lot of people think of Friday the 13th as bad luck, black cats. Not a great day, right? I think the opposite. My first Kundalini awakening was on September 13th of 2024. 39 weeks later, now I'm forgetting if it was June or July. I'm getting the two J's confused. I had my second Kundalini awakening. 39 weeks from that date is this Friday. So, I did the math on it, and for you to get perfect decimals like that won't happen again for over another 100 years. So there was something very oddly specific about that date alignment for me. And there are so many weird numerical instances like that. For instance, 39 weeks from one to the other, that's the gestation period of a human birth, right? So baby is inside the mother for 39 weeks. From conception to birth. That seems like a metaphor for an awakening if you think about it. You're asleep, you're not born yet, and then you have this massive awakening, and you are born through this process of a Kundalini awakening. Now, I'm sure there are many other types of awakenings, right? I am not an expert across all of these different teachings, right? But I know my lived experience, and I had never heard about a Kundalini awakening before it happened. But the visions I had of Shakti dancing above me in pink and gold and purple, I had no clue what I was seeing when it happened. I just saw it happening, and I thought that was very interesting. So I Googled it afterwards, and I found out that that was Shakti, and the descriptions and the images literally matched verbatim what I saw, which, again, leads me to go, well, that's more than my imagination. How can I confirm this after the fact without any previous knowing of it, right? So, the sensations, the feelings, the thoughts, the downloads that came through that day had to do with sine waves. I've talked about them before, but if you're not familiar, a sine wave makes a pattern like you draw a wave up and down, up and down. What's interesting about this was what I learned / remembered during this process was that for every high we reach on that peak, there's going to be a trough. And those troughs seem like low points or potentially things that we aren't striving for or trying to manifest, right? But instead of looking at them like a punishment or like you did something wrong or the universe is, enacting karma on you or something, think about it like this. That low point is a springboard, like a trampoline. The higher you jump on the trampoline, the more you push down on the net. And by pushing further down the net, you then bounce higher, right? Same thing with a sine wave. If you think of our DNA, it's a double helix. It's actually two sine waves that are twisted and connected around another that are connected by the rungs of the ladder. And in this vision, what I was shown was that we are like entrained, twisted sine waves. And our life is on that up and down, up and down. So, what does all that mean, right? It means that we need to remember that, I've talked about it before, we have our timeline, and then there is Source's timeline, the universe's timeline, our higher self's timeline. We might be wanting that car tomorrow, that new job tomorrow, new friends, new experiences. Instead, the world is giving us the opposite of what we're asking for, right? So we're like, what are we doing wrong? What am I doing wrong? Nothing. We just are living on our timeline instead of on the divine's timeline. And we mistake those two because we might think we understand what one of them is trying to tell us. Oh, well, this sign means this or this sign means that. I do it myself all the time. I'm talking about signs right now. 39, the sevens, so many different numbers, right? And they do mean things, but we don't always necessarily know for a fact what those things mean. So it's important not to put too much stock, per se, in one interpretation. It's important to keep an open mind, something I struggle with. but I'm working through that right now in a lot of different ways. The defensiveness of being questioned about what happened versus the thought that instead of being defensive, we can see this as an opportunity to grow and expand and learn new perspectives that we hadn't even considered yet, which then opens the doors to so many more possibilities. So, on Friday, Mars is going to be stationed on the North Node of Destiny. Around 2 in the afternoon, I think, Pacific Standard Time. So this is a huge pivoting point. We have the Friday the 13th energy. We have this Mars energy. Jupiter just stationed direct again just a few days ago. So this whole feeling, like I talked about, this overwhelm of not knowing, this feeling of stagnation, those things should be reversing themselves now. And it doesn't mean you might see instant reactions, right? Or instant results. These might take time. It depends on where you are on your journey right now. But the thing is, major changes are coming. Major shifts are about to happen. Yesterday, in meditation, I put my hands over my heart and I started doing triangular breath work. So I'd breathe in through my nose. I wouldn't hold it. I would just breathe. And I do that in loops. I view it as triangular because I'm breathing in. I just picture my breath moving in this sort of motion. I know it's not actually triangular breath work, but that's just how I'm visualizing it. And when I did this, I had my hands over my heart, and I asked for Archangel Michael and Source to be with me and to help clear cords and blockages that have been keeping me from moving forward. These things of guilt, doubt, thinking I'm not worthy. And then the most amazing thing happened. I felt this bulge in my heart chakra about this big, and it expanded up out of my chest, and I actually felt like I was being lifted by the chest in meditation. And then I saw these golden wings appear in my mind's eye, and they were flapping in a rhythmic beat, like a heartbeat. And as they beat, this golden circle would explode out from the wings over and over. And I saw Michael's golden sword, fiery sword, come down and cut these golden cords that were draped between my hands. And I thought it was, very apropos that I wanted to release these things, and then these things were shown to me in that way. But what made it even more amazing was that this morning I got Kyle Gray's Gateway of Light activation deck. My girlfriend suggested that I draw from that after the meditation. And sure enough, the card I drew was the Heart of Source. And the imagery on the card was identical to the imagery I had described. I use Google Gemini to create the images that I see in meditation. That way I can put them into a folder and I can review them when I sit and think. And it's easier for me to visualize them that way. I'm very visual. And it was very interesting because the image that Google Gemini made through my description almost identically matched the card that I drew this morning. This golden orb, 3 rings of gold erupting out of it, which is exactly what my picture was. So that was interesting. I then also drew the next card, which was the angelic frequency, which I was just talking about Michael, so I got the Heart of Source and the angelical frequency of Michael in that card pull, which was just synchronicity after synchronicity. And then I went to the animal medicine deck, which I find is an extremely sacred deck. I only pull that on very rare occasions. And I pulled the Great Blue Heron from it, which is talking about this whole idea of stop looking through your own, film-covered eyes, through the ego's eyes, and look at it through the eyes of a willingness to see beyond what we're currently seeing. To stand still, like a heron does in the river, and watches the fish below. And they stand so still. It's an act of meditation and stillness and accepting things for what they are. And the card just spoke to me so much. And this layers upon layers of these synchronicities stacking up like this, you know, it just speaks to me. And I want to know, how many of you are experiencing these synchronicities right now? How many of you have experienced these events on meaningful days like Friday the 13th? Or maybe there's another day, an Easter Sunday, or another holiday from around the world that you had some sort of profound event happen on. How many of you are seeing repeating numbers that just aren't on a clock or on your receipt, but I mean mathematically through time are repeating over and over and over? So, I just want you to think about that. Where can you reevaluate your perspective on things? Where can we, as a collective, reevaluate how we see things and shift from the world we're in now into the world that we want to be in? I'll be thinking about that. I'll be meditating about that, and I'll be praying about that, and I hope that you will too. And I'll see you in the in-between. Namaste.